We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on election day in the last election cycle. And every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost.
The next two things we're going to talk about is really, it's all one thing, but I'm going to split it in two. This is the most important thing happening right now in America. And we're all looking at other things, but there's some severe issues going on. First of all, Trump's polling is going even lower. Quinnipiac has him at a 37% approval, and that is their all-time low for him. In both terms, he's never been down to 37% approve, 56% disapprove. Trump says that poll is biased and liberal and left wing and blah, blah, blah. And the only poll he trusts is Rasmussen. Rasmussen has never had Trump under 50% that I know of. Every time I see it,
Really?
he's always at like 51 to 53. Everybody else will have him at like 40 to 42, and Rasmussen has him at like 51 to 53. Rasmussen poll came out today. He is at 41% approval, 57% disapprove. And this is his favorite pollster. The guy from Rasmussen was on Fox News. It's a real short clip, but check this out real quick.
Happen is also his approval has dropped. It actually hit negative 16 net points today, 41% approve. That's worse than it's been all the way going back to December of 2017. So people are not liking what he's doing. And a lot of it is because of the ICE optics. We've seen over the last couple of months an uptick in people who support sanctuary policies, and a plurality of Americans now say that ICE tactics are too harsh.
So it's nice that Fox News viewers are hearing that this is not going well.
Was that in the middle of the day when everybody's at work?
That was on Larry Kudlow, so that would have been at like 4 o'clock my time.
So wow, everybody's at work.
Yeah, probably. So anyhow, most of the people watching Fox News are retired, so hopefully they're seeing that. But the polling is terrible, and you would think, okay, America doesn't like what you're doing right now. He's got time. He could course correct. He could pull back on the ICE raids. He could lay off of the tariffs. Like, he could do things, and his base is forgiving. If he course corrected tomorrow, they would forget all about the first year and just be happy with what he's doing now. They've done that in the past a whole lot.
I don't know if he's going to lose his base. Like, I was going back to Epstein. I was watching this guy. So have you ever seen this kid? He's probably like 18 or 19 years old. He's kind of got long, shaggy hair. And he basically just debates right wingers all day.
Is it Adam Mockler?
No, it's not Adam Mockler. It's another guy. I forget his name, but
is he blonde?
He's blonde. Yeah.
Luke Beasley.
It's not Luke Beasley.
I got no clue then.
This kid's younger than both of those kids.
Okay, yeah. Don't know this kid.
And he just goes on and he just debates right wingers that call into his show.
Okay.
This one guy basically was just like, what is wrong with graping underage girls? That was his question.
Dear God.
And the guy was dead serious. He would not let up. And this kid was just like, no, what?
Well, it's like, remember Megyn Kelly at one point was like, oh, come on. It wasn't pedophilia. It's not like these were 7 and 8-year-old girls. These were girls that were prepubescent. They were 14 to 18. Like, what's wrong with that? And it's like, what do you mean? What's wrong with that? Okay.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like they lower their standards to Trump standards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just how it's going to go, I guess.
I think you're right. But back to my point is Trump has 2 ways he can go here. If he doesn't want to lose the midterms, he can either course correct and try to stop doing some of the stuff that everybody hates so much. And I think he could do that, and he could really make the midterms a lot closer. But he would have to back down. And he doesn't like to back down and admit that he was wrong on anything. So his other option is to tamper with the midterms.
That's where he's going with this.
Have you seen all the stuff that's going on with the midterms right now?
I saw that he wants to, like 15 states, he wants to federalize their elections.
He does. So, and let's back up real quick. And this is what kills me. I'm going to go on a little rant here, but like throughout all of our time with Trump, back in the first term, like if you said, back in his first term, if you said, I don't think Trump's going to leave office, even if he loses the election, I don't think he's going to leave. And people on the right would be like, oh, you have Trump derangement syndrome, blah, 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 blah. And then he really tried to not leave. And even if he brought it up after that, they'd go, oh, but he left eventually. And it's like, but he tried everything but you get called Trump derangement syndrome. So for the past year, people have been pointing at like, I don't know if we're going to have free and fair elections in 2028, maybe even the midterms. And the right has been like, oh, you have Trump derangement syndrome. And it's like, they say that about a lot of stuff that turns out that no, we were right to be worried about this. Okay.
The
So
Trump derangement syndrome is actually the people who think that Trump is doing good for our country.
I think it's on both sides. I think there's two Trump derangement syndromes. There are people that no matter what he does, because every now and then he does a good thing. He signed an act yesterday that's like it's called like the Give Children a Chance Act, and it's to help fund research for childhood cancer and to allow them to try if they're terminal.
After he defunded childhood cancer through Doge.
I get it. But part of it was that he's allowing them to try experimental medication when they're terminal, like when there's nothing left they can do. And that seems like we should have been doing that all along, but apparently we never have let them do that. So that's a good act right there. That's a good thing. You should be able to say, hey, that was a good thing that Congress passed it and Trump signed it, but hey, he signed it, so whatever. So there is Trump derangement syndrome where no matter what he does, everybody's going to say, oh, that's not good. But there's also Trump derangement syndrome to where no matter what he does, you're going to say it's good and you're going to refuse to admit that anything is bad. So I think that the far of both sides have TDS is my theory.
I'll go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's back up. Tulsi Gabbard is at the raid in Georgia and Fulton County a week ago. I mean,
she's back. She's in the scene again.
She's totally she fell off for a while and suddenly she's back in Trump's good graces. So we saw pictures of her there. Todd Blanche went on the Sunday morning shows, and while he was talking about Epstein, one of the things he was asked was why she was there. And on two different shows, he said, oh, she just happened to be in Atlanta. Like she was there, she was in Atlanta already, so she figured she might as well stop by the raid. That's kind of how he put it. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. After that, Tulsi gave a letter to Congress, and she put it out on Twitter so everybody could see it. And she said that Trump personally directed her to go to the raid. 2 days later, Trump gets interviewed by NBC. By the way, I didn't pull anything from that interview, and that had a lot of gold in it. And Trump, they asked him why she was there, and he goes, I don't know why she was there. And it's like, just yesterday, she said you personally directed her to go, and you're saying you don't know. And then today, at the prayer breakfast, he said, oh, well, Tulsi was there because Pam Bondi requested that she be there. So he threw Pam Bondi under the bus with it. But that's their news story. So we've had like 4 or 5 different explanations of what Tulsi was doing there in just a week. Like they can't get their story straight, which is kind of hysterical. But so we had that. Then we find out that apparently Tulsi Gabbard was part of a team that went to Puerto Rico in the spring and confiscated a couple of their voting machines to check it. And one of the things they were checking for was to see if Venezuela possibly rigged the election. Because remember, that was one of the theories. Yeah. So they were checking to see if possibly there was foreign interference, Italian satellites, or Venezuela, which there are people that are saying that, oh, we have Maduro in prison and we might cut a deal with him to where if he admits that he rigged the elections to make Trump lose, we'll let him go free. And when I first heard that, I was like, okay, no, that's Trump derangement syndrome right there. But now it's looking more and more like,
oh no,
that could totally be a thing. And I could see Trump would let that happen with no evidence. All he has to do is say he did it, and they'll cut him free and let it. That maybe that's why they're leaving his administration in place in Venezuela, is because they're trying to force a confession out of him that he rigged the election against Trump, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think there's any way possible that Venezuela rigged our elections, but whatever. I know there are people that believe that. So
this is good. That's what's going to happen.
Anyhow, so unbeknownst to us, for a half a year, Tulsi and her team had already confiscated voting machines in Puerto Rico. Now they've confiscated the ballots and voter rolls in Georgia. We talked about it last time, but they're trying to get the voter rolls from every state, and they were suing, what was that, like 15 to 20 states that we saw on the map that they're suing for their voter rolls. So they're up to something. Then this week, Trump goes on Dan Bongino's podcast. Dan Bongino, formerly a podcaster and then formerly the assistant FBI director, and now he's back to being a podcaster where he can really make a difference. He keeps saying that. He's back where he can make a difference. And it's like, dude, you are the assistant head of the FBI. Like, that's where you could make a difference. Whatever.
Back where I could make a difference.
Yeah. Anyhow,
the eternal optimist he is.
He is. I could have pulled like a 2-minute clip for this, but I cut it down to just the important part here. So check out Trump on Dan Bongino.
and they vote illegally. And amazing that the Republicans aren't tougher on it. The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting.
Yeah, that's
So-
not the first time he said that.
It's the first time he's gone that far. He's never gone that far. He said that we need to nationalize the voting. What other people would say is federalize the elections. They're going to federalize the presidential election. We've talked about this before, but there's a good reason that we don't have federalized elections, and it's to prevent mass scale cheating.
Sure.
Elections, and it's in the Constitution. It's Article 1, Section 2. That elections are to be held at the state level. The states run their own elections,
Yep.
and even beyond that, like individual cities and counties run their own elections. And it's basically to make it to where one person couldn't put their thumb on the scale and rig the whole election. You'd have to go through precinct by precinct and rig elections, and that's really hard to do. So that's the scariest thing Trump has said yet, is that he wants he said at the beginning of that Republicans should take over the elections. Then he caught himself and said we should nationalize it. That's a little weird. Now, anytime he says some crazy shit, everybody comes out. Mike Johnson, a lot of people came out and they were like, oh, no, he didn't mean that. What he means is we should pass voter ID, which is the SAVE Act. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But they kept trying to say, oh, no, he doesn't mean that. He just means this. And then he came out like 2 days later and was like, no, I think we should definitely in 15 states. And it's like, I would never go to bat to try to clean up something that Trump has said, because there's a solid chance that he's going to then undercut you a day or two later and be like, no, I meant what I said. So anybody that defends what he says is dumb. But
Speaking of Mike Johnson,
okay.
Did you watch the prayer breakfast today?
I saw Trump's part of the prayer breakfast. Where you talking about where he was talking about Mike Johnson wanting to pray before meals? Save that. If you got that clip,
Okay,
save that.
I got
for me
that. I
for a
got
second.
the video. Yeah.
Save that we'll talk about the prayer breakfast in a minute. But so federalizing the elections, terrible idea. And luckily, I don't think there's any way that he could pull that off. The Supreme Court would I think it'd be 9-0 telling me he can't do that. That's very clear in the Constitution. You cannot do that. Okay. So I feel all right about that. But I also think he's up to something here. Mike Johnson, for a while, I was hoping he would kind of be the adult in there. There's times where Trump says some wild stuff, and then it's always Mike Johnson walking through the hallways of Congress and a reporter asks him a question, but he normally pours cold water on him. He's like, no, we're not really going to do that. And he kind of tampers down the flames that Trump starts. This is one of the more irresponsible things I've ever seen Mike Johnson say to a camera. Check this clip. It's a little bit longer, but check this out. We're going to talk about this in a second.
Follow up on elections. The president says that he wants Republicans to nationalize elections. Do you agree with him? And do you have confidence in how elections are conducted right now, heading into the midterm?
We have thoughtful debate about our election system every election cycle and sometimes in between. We know it's in our system. The states have been in charge of administering their elections. What you're hearing from the president is his frustration about the lack of some of the blue states, frankly, of enforcing these things and making sure that they are free and fair elections. We need constant improvement on that front. I don't know what the ultimate solution is going to be. I'm not going to get ahead of the negotiations here, but I think that is something that's going to be a continuing theme here. It's something that we'll continue to push, and we hope the governors will insist upon that same thing as well. In some of the states, like in California, for example, I mean, they hold the elections open for weeks after Election Day. That's just one thing that bothers so many people. We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on Election Day in the last election cycle. And every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost. In no series of ballots that were counted after Election Day were our candidates ahead on any of those counts. It looks on its face to be fraudulent. Can I prove that? No, because it happened so far upstream. But we need more confidence in the American people in the election system, and it's essential. And everybody, no matter what party you're in, should agree with that. The mass mailing of paper ballots or mail-in ballots and all the other irregularities that have haunted us over the last couple of cycles, we need to tighten that up. Now, the red states have done a lot of good work in that front, but it's the blue states that I'm frankly concerned about. So we'll see how the law is modified and what's changed, but I hope we can get consensus to get that done. Yeah.
I mean, that's straight out of the fascist playbook, right? Is like
and there's so many issues with what he just said. I got a list. All right, so he said, first of all, California keeps their election open for weeks after the election. Okay, what they do, and you can say you disagree with this, but they have a rule where your ballot has to be postmarked by election day. Apparently, there are some very rural parts of California, like out in the Central Valley area,
Those are
where
the ones that vote right, the people in the
they do.
rural.
But mail takes a while to get where it's going. So if your ballot is postmarked by election day, they will give it a couple weeks afterward and see what ballots keep coming in. As long as you put it in the mail on election day, it's still going to be counted. I don't really have a problem with that. If you want to make a rule where, like some states, the rule is it has to be received by election day. That seems kind of freaky because like what if you mail it a week and a half in advance, but like it gets lost for a while in the mail or whatever? Like I don't care for that. He also the part that really irked me here is he said that we had in the last election we had three candidates that were way ahead and then their leads got magically whittled away is the phrase he used. Okay, that this bothers. I can't. I'm gonna try to hold my frustration in here, but like you hear the word ballot dumps. Oh, all these ballot dumps. The guy was up, and then there was a middle of the night ballot dump, and he was
Yeah.
down. Okay, all of these things are so easy to figure out. Like if you want to know what's happening, the answers are right there. All you got to do is
Yeah.
Google it. And in a lot of cases, like I've explained it to people and they've, oh, okay, I get it now. And then 2 weeks later, they'll be like, well, all these ballot dumps. And I'm like, you mother, I just explained it to you. Like, how do you, but like in some states, I'm going to be real quick with this, but in some states, they have a rule where you can't start to count the mail in ballots till all the day of voting and ballots are counted. And once those are all counted, then you can start counting mail in ballots. In those
Hmm.
states, you have what's called a red mirage because Republicans normally win day of voting and Democrats win the mail in voting. So it might
Hmm.
look like the Republican got out to a good lead, but then as the mail in votes are counted, the blue comes back. So they call that a red mirage. In
Hmm.
other states, they have rules where as soon as the ballot, what do they call it? The polls, as soon as the polls open on election day, people can start right then. If the polls open at 10 a.m., at 10 a.m., people start counting the mail-in ballots. So normally you have the mail-in ballots come through midday or like right when the polls close, and
Yeah.
those are the first number you get. And then after that, you get day of voting. That's called a blue mirage because normally the Democrat jumps out to a lead, and then as you count the day of voting, but it's different in every state because every state has different rules.
But here's the thing, Mike Johnson is a politician. He knows this.
Oh,
He's just blatantly lying,
mhm.
which is one of the Ten Commandments. And for a godly man, should he not be lying to millions of people?
That's a great take right there. And yeah, you're correct. He does know that. Like that's the thing is he knows that, and I guarantee you, people have explained that to Trump repeatedly. I guarantee you, he's had that talk to him, but
Yeah.
he knows that a lot of people that are just sitting at home watching don't know how this works, and they're like, yeah. Now that I think about it, when I went to bed that night, he did have a lead, and when I woke up the next morning, he didn't have a lead, and it's like, it's
It
it's
just
playing
magic.
to
It was magically happened.
and
Magically whittled away.
And they talk about a ballot dump. No, it's different precincts. Like when Fulton County turns in their votes, which is Atlanta, Georgia, that's going to be heavily blue. So you get all these other little precincts that are sending in their votes, and it's a couple
Yeah.
thousand at a time. And then all of a sudden, you get 80,000 from Fulton County all at once because they turned in their votes. And oh my God, of those 80,000, 60,000 of them were blue. So all of a sudden now the Democrats back in the fight or whatever. Like it's very easy to make it make sense. This isn't a mystery. Like
No.
how these ballot dumps don't make sense to me. It's because you're not trying to find the answer. Like if you're a person that uses the word ballot dumps in a complaining way, I'm trying to be nice here, but
Yeah.
you've never looked for the answer, is what I'm going
And
to
there's
say.
there's recounts after recount after recount, and they do find some
Oh, there was a lady.
illegal voting, but it's very minuscule. It's a handful at a time. It's not.
There was a lady on CNN last night that I think she's from like the New York Post, and she was like, "Oh, are you saying that illegals haven't voted in elections? Because I have the info right here." And the host Abby Phillips she was like, "Okay, yeah, I'd love to hear. Tell me the numbers here." And it was like, "Well, in 2024 in Florida, there were 9 non-citizens that voted, and in Georgia there were 8." And it was like, "Okay, yeah, of the hundreds of thousands of votes or millions, whatever it is, there were 9." Like, okay, yeah,
Right.
and they caught those people because they go back afterward and they figure it out. So it's very
Yeah.
irritating.
How many total do you think there are?
Illegal votes or actually the Heritage Foundation did a study on this. Oh, we could find this answer real quick. I've seen it before and it was so minor. Heritage, I can't type. Foundation Non-citizen voting. It was over like a 25-year period. They did a study. Hold on. I'm gonna try something here.
Oh, heritage.org.
They probably wiped it from the internet. Hold on. Where's my buddy at that always helps me with these things? Here we go.
Oh.
Hey, the Heritage Foundation did a study at one point about non-citizens voting in our elections. Do you have that study or those numbers?
The Heritage Foundation does have a database of election fraud cases, and reports analyzing their data indicate that proven instances of non-citizen voting are relatively rare. One analysis found that they've documented just 68 cases of non-citizen voting going back decades, which is a very small percentage in their total database. Is there a specific aspect of the study you're interested in?
No, thank you, Gemini. Please don't take over the world. All right. So
68 in decades.
I think it was like in the last 24 years or something like that. So 68 total, and they did an exhaustive search. So that's all I'm going to say about the whole non-citizen voting thing. But and then also he was doing the whole mail-in voting. We just need to do away with mail-in voting. I've had you say this on the show before again, but you explained how your mail-in voting goes in Colorado, and
It's
it was
amazing.
shockingly secure. And I'd read somewhere that mail-in voting is actually the most secure way of voting, and it didn't make sense. When I read that, I was like, no, that can't be true. But then will you give me a quick rundown on how you vote and how you can follow up on your vote?
So, like 2 or 3 weeks prior to an election, I will get a blue pamphlet, a blue booklet, and it has all the candidates, their positions, and what they're running for. All the propositions and stuff like that too. And
Does it
tell
give you like
that.
a little like a descriptor of here's this
It,
guy and here's what he's for?
yeah, not a little descriptor. It's a very it's a very large descriptor.
Okay.
It's sentences, paragraphs. Um,
So that
so
hold on, so that you can be an informed voter?
I can be an informed voter, yes.
Amazing.
And
Okay,
that actually
continue.
might come like 2 months before the election, a
Okay.
month or two before the election, because I get my ballot like 2 weeks after that, and I have like 2 to 3 weeks to mail in my ballot.
Okay.
So I like pile that up, and then, close to the election, I'll sit down and I'll start reading and I'll start getting on the internet and doing my research and I'll scribble in my bubbles and I sign the envelope and I mail it back to them. It has a
Okay.
prepaid postage stamp on it already. One time I forgot to sign the envelope. I got an email, I got a letter. I had to like get on the phone with somebody and like, yes, I signed my ballot. Like I forgot to sign my ballot or whatever, and I had to like go on and do like I think they sent me a link to digitally sign my ballot at
So
that
and
point.
that's called curing your ballot. They have some that come through that don't have a proper this or that, and most states have like a period where they're allowed to try to cure your ballot, make it countable. But also after your ballot goes through, isn't there a way you can go follow up and make sure your vote was counted correctly?
I think so, but I've never done that.
Okay, from what I read, you can go online and like type in your voter ID or whatever. Go ahead.
I get an email.
Oh, you get an email and
Your
it
ballot has been counted. Yes.
yeah, and does it say who they counted it for? Like, does it say if Harris or Trump or anything?
No, I don't think it has any information. I think it
Okay,
just
does
says
it?
it just tells you that your ballot has been counted.
One, I saw something about California and maybe Washington or Oregon where like you can log in and go on and make sure that your ballot was tallied for the person you intended to vote for, basically, so that you can know
Okay.
that there's no vote switching. So, I seems pretty safe to me, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So, and then on top of all the things, the FBI sent a letter to all 50 states today. In this letter, this is a little scary. It says, "Dear Chief Elections Officials, to prepare for the 2026 U.S. midterms, your election partners at the FBI, DOJ, DHS, and USPIS, as well as the EAC, would like to invite you to a call where we can discuss our preparations for the cycle, as well as updates and resources we can provide to you and your staff. The call is Wednesday, February 25th and will be for chief elections officials. You may designate a proxy to attend in your place, blah, blah, blah. We look forward to speaking with you. Apparently, this is not normal. The federal government doesn't have the FBI, DHS, all them get together and talk to election officials ahead of time. So everybody's very curious about what's going to happen on that call. So
That's going to be interesting.
very interesting. So
I mean,
anyhow,
they're talking about having ICE show up at the ballots. At the
Steve
voting
Bannon said
booth.
they are going to have ICE like
That's
all
what it
around the ballots or all around the polls, and that's illegal. You can't use intimidation through law enforcement or anything like that. That's a straight up illegal. They asked Carolyn Levitt today if she can commit and say that there's not going to be ICE around the ballots. And she said, "Well, no, obviously I can't commit to that." And it's like, okay, that's scary. But
Hmm.
this brings us all to the SAVE Act. Are you familiar at all with the SAVE Act?
No, haven't heard
Okay.
of it.
So, if you listen to Democrats talk, Democrats will say if they pass the SAVE Act, that means married women aren't going to be allowed to vote. That's not true. I've looked into that. That's not true. They keep saying, "Oh, if any woman's gotten married and changed her name, if her name's not the same as it was on her birth certificate, she can't vote now." That's the
What
left.
Democrats are saying this?
A lot online. A lot
Oh.
online are throwing that out. They're trying to scare people. They're trying to say,
On
"Oh,
X?
what's that?"
On X?
On X, Instagram, they're preying on stupid people. There are elements of the left preying on dumb people, just like the right. So there are people trying to say that that's not true. But the main part of the SAVE Act is national voter ID laws. Voter ID laws poll really well. Like depending on the poll you look at, it's anywhere from like 70 to 85% of America is totally for the idea that like, yeah, if you're going to show up to vote, you should have to show an ID to prove it's you. And that makes sense to me. Like I can't really argue against that. That does make sense.
A lot of people don't have IDs though, Andy. And those people are in big cities
Mhm.
and they're poor and they can't afford to have an ID and they don't need an ID because they ride the bus or they walk and they just don't have an ID. It's like,
I hear what you're saying.
and if you don't have an ID, you have to bring like 2 forms of residency.
You got to bring a utility bill or so there's different
Yeah,
ways
2
you
forms.
can do it without an
2
ID.
forms.
I get it. I'm just telling you that overall, a good majority of the country thinks that the idea that you should have to have an ID to vote makes sense. I really have no problem with it, one way or another. Now, the problem is, in theory, it makes sense. It's like, yeah, you should have to show your ID because if you don't have a driver's license, blah blah. So let's talk about what the SAVE Act really does. The SAVE Act says that you have to have a form of ID that proves that you are an American citizen. Your driver's license does not prove that you're an American citizen. If you have a passport does work. It was like over 60% of Americans don't have passports or something. It was like 65% of Americans don't have passports. I have one that I can't find right now. It's somewhere, but I had to buy one for one trip and it's probably expired at this point. If you don't have a passport, there are a couple states that their driver's license are called enhanced driver's license, and it does say on the driver's license whether or not you're a citizen. Those states are Michigan, Minnesota, New York, Vermont, and Washington. So what is that? 4 states? 5 states. If you don't live in one of those states or have an enhanced driver's license, then you would need to bring your driver's license or government ID with your birth certificate. According to stuff I saw today, about 15% of the voting eligible Americans don't have their birth certificate due to either theft or it was lost or stolen or this and that. At a certain point, you don't know where your birth certificate is. You don't try to get a replacement because, like, unless you're playing youth sports, I don't know when the last time I needed my birth certificate was. I think my wife knows where mine is. I hope. I have no clue where my birth certificate is. But so basically, to vote, you would need your driver's license plus birth certificate. That's disenfranchising voters. Like there's going to be a substantial part of the people that don't have their birth certificate, or maybe don't have it on them, or whatever. So I don't like that for the SAVE Act. I think a driver's license or any form of government ID should work, and that's what I don't like about the SAVE Act.
Well, I mean, it's been a while since I've went in somewhere to vote, to like a polling booth. But if I remember correctly, they had a list of all eligible voters in the district, and they go through and they mark you off as voted when you go there, right? Is that correct?
Where I've only voted in Texas and Oklahoma, and I can't remember what I had to do to get enrolled to become registered to vote. Like I can't remember. Like when I got my driver's license here in Oklahoma, like part of that process was like, oh, do you also want us to register you to vote? But I don't know what all paperwork I took with me. I honestly don't remember. when I show up to the day of voting, all I have is my driver's license, and I show them my driver's license, and they find me on their list, and they, check me off or
Yeah.
whatever, and they give me a ballot, and I go do my thing.
So if
So,
you're a false voter and you go up there, then they should catch you there if your name is not on the list.
though that's the thing, though, is in some states you don't have to have an ID on the day of voting. That's the whole
But
thing.
you have to have your two forms of like
Yeah,
residency.
something showing where you live. Yeah, your name
And
on
then
a
it has
water
to,
bill.
and then your name has to match those and the name on
Yes,
the list.
but
Okay.
and that's where like then you get into like straw man voting. Like if I know that you're not, say that me and you are neighbors, and I know you have no intention of voting in the election, I could say, hey, give me your water bill, and I could take your water bill up and say, I'm Dustin, and I'd like to vote, and without a picture ID, they wouldn't know
Yeah.
to stop me. So that's the thing. Now, in the only case, I know one case in my life of something similar to that happening, and it's a friend of mine and yours. And in that case, this person's grandmother said, "Hey, you're not going to vote, are you?" And he said, "No." And she said, "You know what? I'll give you $100 if you vote and vote the way I tell you to." That's illegal. And I pointed this out to our friend. I said that's 100% illegal. You can't do that. But he did that. He made $100 to go in and he voted straight Republican for his grandma. Same thing. Anyhow.
Can we get him in trouble for saying that on?
We wouldn't want to, and I'm not going to say who it was.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, it was, I'll bet even though that would have been the first Trump election. So 2016, I don't know what the statute of limitations is on all that, but
Okay.
anyhow, I just thought that was funny. And he said it like nonchalantly, and I was like, dude, that's a federal crime, man. Like you can't do that. So anyhow, I'll bet you can guess who it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
this.
So anyhow, so that's like I wanted to make sure we talked about that a little bit tonight because like the stuff with the 2026 midterms is starting to look like it's going to be debatable whether or not it was free and fair is what I'm going to say. I don't think he's going to cancel elections, but I
No.
think there's going to be some fuckery. Like that's the best word I can use is there's going to be some fuckery. And I want to see what he does with all the stuff from Georgia. Because I don't know if you remember, but after he lost in 2020, he kept doing this like, on Monday, I'm having a press conference at my Bedminster Golf Club where I'm going to lay out all the evidence that the election was stolen. Then he'd have his press conference, and it was like nothing. It was like, where's all the evidence you claimed you were going to have?
Right.
I think we're looking at that again, where they're going to produce some kind of a report that Trump is going to say, look, right here, here's definitive proof that they stole the 2020 election. And when you read it, it's not really going to be that. And also, I said this last week, but let's just say for fun that they somehow proved that, like, oh, look, he really won Georgia. He really did win Georgia. He still lost the election. Georgia didn't end up mattering because he lost all the other states that mattered. So even had he won Georgia, he would have still lost the election. Is all I'm going to say.
But if the numbers come out and it shows that he won Georgia, which I doubt it did, because didn't they count it already 3 times?
They counted those ballots twice by machine and once by hand.
Okay. So let's just say they mess with the numbers and he comes out with a
hold on,
win.
wait, time out. And after all three counts, they did an audit of the election and they found 36 instances and they didn't say that where a ballot shouldn't have been counted, but 36 instances where there was a ballot that was questionable, basically. So, and
Okay.
he lost Georgia by 11,780 votes. So 36 votes were in question from that audit. So,
Okay. Okay.
anyhow.
Well, let's just say that they fudge the numbers and they get Trump a win in Georgia. Then he's going to start going to all the other states and be like, "Look at this. We need your ballots."
I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to used Fulton County as a pretense to then say by executive order, because this is what he's going to try to do. He's going to try to lay out some report and say, look, provable cheating. Because of that, the federal government now has to come in and take over the elections. That's what he's going to try to do.
You think the Supreme Court will hold up with that?
No, I don't think they're going to let him, but that's what he's going to try to do.
Okay.
So
The Supreme Court scares me.
the tariff thing, like the tariff thing should be open and shut. Like the Constitution is very clear that Congress controls any new taxes or penalties or this and that. The way they word it is very clear. And without Congress voting to like basically ratify his tariffs, these don't count. But the fact that they haven't released a ruling on it means that it's close. Like this should be 9-0. This should be really close. So I'm really, really worried about the Supreme Court.
Yeah, shouldn't they have already voted on that in January? Wasn't this supposed to come out in January?
There's been 2 different Fridays so far where people thought like, oh, it's coming out today, and then it didn't come out either of those Fridays.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah. So, um, I got one last thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. But check this in. So we talk all the time. You know, we're like, how do Republicans still like him? Or we're always confused how Republicans aren't upset about one thing or another. And I always
Hmm.
tell you, we live in different bubbles. Our news bubbles are so segregated right now that like people on the other side are not hearing the same things that you're hearing and I'm hearing, right?
Yeah.
There's a perfect graphic to illustrate this. Check this out real quick.
How audiences on different news platforms view Trump.
So this is depending on where you get your news. Here's how Trump's rating or polling goes. If you newspapers or news websites, what is I'm trying to do some quick math here. 33% approval and 58% strongly disapprove, and they didn't put a number for the somewhat disapprove. But only a 38% or 33% approval if you get your news from newspapers or news websites. So real news, mainstream media, whatever you want to call it. If you get your news primarily through Reddit, he's only got a 29% approval rating.
Wait, I think I'm not, we're 29.
I'm
Oh,
adding
okay.
the
Oh,
strongly and the
gotcha,
somewhat
gotcha.
approve.
Okay.
Broadcast television, that's 36% approval, and then the rest is disapprove. If you only watch TikTok, it's 35% approval. Instagram, 39% approval. Local television, what is that? 41%, I believe.
Is that considered Fox News?
No,
Oh no,
that's local. That's people that
cable's
watch
down
their
there.
local news. So cable television gets him all the way up to 45% approval rating. And now's where it starts to get scary. Podcast and YouTube. That is 43% approval. Facebook is 46%. And if you live on Twitter and you get all your news from Twitter, he's sitting at a 54% approval rating.
Wow.
So 54% if you're a Twitter news guy versus 33% if you watch mainstream news.
Well, one of our buddies said he got all of his news from TikTok.
Yes, he's the most uninformed buddy we have.
And
What's funny, our buddies, because we've got a buddy that gets all his news from TikTok, and then we also have a couple buddies that don't watch anything, and our buddies that don't watch anything are more well informed than our TikTok news friend. I sincerely believe that.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And
And the only reason TikTok numbers aren't good for Trump right now is for the past 2, 3 years, it's been really heavy on what's going on in Gaza.
mm,
So it's been a lot of negativity to him. Now, I don't know if you've seen in the last week or two, now that American owners have fully taken care of TikTok or taken over TikTok, you get straight up zero views if you put anything critical of Trump or ICE or Israel or whatever. So like they've
yeah,
really they've
what's
cracked
that new
down.
platform that you jumped on?
Upscrolled. Upscrolled turns out to, and I still have hope for it, but the things I was seeing on X were like, hey, all these other platforms are shadow banning when we say that that one country in the Middle East is committing a genocide. I don't know, probably just saying that word probably just got us knocked down. But
Probably.
if you say that on a lot of platforms, you're in trouble. The great thing about Upscrolled was you can say that. They won't do anything to you. So awesome. But what it quickly turned into is a lot of people that it got Nazi-ish real quick.
Oh, wow.
The level of anti-Semitism on that site is growing to where it's kind of like I hate all the blanks over there. Um, I'm hoping they get that straightened out because I like there's got to be a fine balance. This is not the balance. This is so I
Yeah, maybe they need to like balance it with other news
it's
and not just
it's
talking about
basically
that.
all the people in America that are like, man, I can't say bad things about Jewish people anymore. And then it's like, oh wait, upscrolled, and they go straight to like, yay, I can say all the things I want to say. And
Oh
that's
God.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm probably gonna have to delete my account because I don't. It's like getting to a point where it's like I don't want to be associated with this. Like
Uh,
I'm holding out hope that it's gonna self correct, but right now that's pretty much what I'm seeing on there. So
that's
yeah,
bad.
you can't
Oh no.
you
So
can't have nice
like there's
things.
nothing there's nothing that's like just straight up news besides like your newspapers. BBC, there's some overseas news channels that are like straight up good news. Not good news, but news.
I don't. So like you're talking like Sky News, BBC. I
Yeah.
think that all the people that hate the mainstream media would lump those in with the mainstream media and say that So I don't know. Like my whole thing has always been like I don't trust a news channel. I trust certain news anchors. There's certain anchors that I think are giving me the straight stuff.
Okay.
So I point when somebody asks me, they're like, I don't know who to believe. There's certain people that I'll point people to and say, hey, this guy, like Wolf Blitzer. Wolf Blitzer is on CNN, which Trump hates on CNN all the time. I don't think Trump's ever said anything about Wolf Blitzer because Wolf Blitzer's a news machine. He's just
Yeah.
giving you the news. He does.
Yeah.
It doesn't come across as very biased. I would also put Jake Tapper in that, where Jake Tapper is going to crawl up whatever administration is there. He's crawling up their ass. He wrote that book about Biden having dementia, and that came out right before the election. And the left was pissed because they think that Jake Tapper helped cost Democrats the election. That's just Jake
Well,
Tapper. Whoever's in
really, it was
power.
the Democrats who caused that.
Yeah.
Like we should have had a primary.
Oh yeah. Biden. The whole reason Biden, not the whole reason, but a big part of the reason Biden won is because everybody thought we all knew the deal, that it was a one-term deal. He was going to come in, do one term, try to straighten out the path of the country, and then get out of there. And then as soon as he said, no, I'm going to run for a second term, Democrats should have stood up at that point and said, no, no, Joe, like how about we're doing a primary? And if you win for real, then you can run for a second term. But they just let him, and yeah, that was the problem. But either way, like I said, there's certain news anchors that I feel good about, and it changed. I would have said for a while that Chris Cuomo was one of them, and then when it came to the Israel Palestine stuff, I quickly was like, no, Chris Cuomo, like me and you are not aligned on this, buddy. Uh,
I
but
called Chris Como out a long time ago.
you did. But but like, there's a lot of people right now. This one kills me. I should have pulled this clip, but people are like, yeah, I trust Joe Rogan. That's one I hear all the time. And like for a couple weeks there, he called the ICE Gestapo, and he was saying stuff. And then after the new release of the Epstein files, he had a guy named Mike Benz on, and Mike Benz is like a favorite darling of the right when it comes to like he's an ex-CIA type guy that knows all the intelligence. And he had Mike Benz on, and I was very curious. I was like, oh, I want to see what they're going to say about all this. And Mike Benz was kind of the whole time. He's like, yeah, I don't really see much here. Like, that doesn't seem like there's any wrongdoing here. I'm like, are you reading the files? And then Trump was being very defensive, or sorry, Joe was being very like defensive of the administration and Trump, and he was even saying that he thought Democrats were trying to use the Epstein files to cover up from all the fraud in Minnesota and all this stuff. And I was very disappointed the whole time because I was like, Joe, like old school Joe, like the Epstein files, that's his kind of conspiracy. Like,
Totally.
I want to hear him get down on this, and he wasn't at all. And then in Trump's NBC interview that came out Thursday maybe, Trump was like, oh yeah, he's like the interviewer asked him about the public not liking the ICE raids, and specifically Joe Rogan even saying that they were like Gestapo. And Trump was like, I talk to Joe all the time. I just talked to Joe 3 days ago. I talked to him for a long time. He likes me. I like him, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, is Joe Rogan just a mouthpiece for the Trump administration? Like the files came out. Trump gave Joe a call. They had a long conversation, according to Trump. And then Joe goes on his podcast and basically gives cover to the whole administration. Like, I'm not saying he has to go after Trump specifically, but like what's in the files that released is worthy of being talked about. Like it's not a nothing burger. Like there's some stuff there.
There's
and
a lot of names and a lot of names that are redacted that we don't know.
Yeah. He poo-pooed it all, and he said, as the left is just using this as a distraction.
Bullshit.
And I'm just like, wow, I never thought I'd see the day where Joe Rogan is a mouthpiece for a certain administration, but here we are. And I think that's the thing is if you have a news source that you're willing to trust, at some point they might lose your trust, and you need to be cool with going up. I was wrong about that guy and moving on, like whoever it is. Like if one day Wolf Blitzer gets incredibly biased left or right, I'm going to be like, oh, well, Wolf used to be cool, but he's not anymore. Like there are some, even on Instagram, there's an account called Ride the News. And I don't know how many followers they have, but I love Ride the News. Like they give you some updates every day, and they seem to do it from a very neutral spot. Like they're going to say whatever's good or bad going on. And I love that. And it's like try to find a news source that you watch or read And every now and then they're going to tell you something you don't feel good about, like they're going to that you disagree with, or
Yeah.
you know, that's the key. If the people you're getting your news from are always telling you things that make you feel like you were right, that's a problem. Like
Yeah, big
read
time.
some stuff that you disagree with. See how that goes for you.
Yeah. The problem is like finding news that you disagree with and then looking into it. Like if I listen to Fox News, I
Mhm.
disagree with the vast majority of what Fox News says, or when I listen to right-wing radio, I disagree with the vast majority of what they say. And like sometimes I have to look it up. And then I look it up and I'm like, you guys are just this is total bullshit.
But every now and then you hear something. I guarantee you, if you're really doing this, every now and then you hear something that at first you're like, "Oh, that's a lie," and then you look it up, and sometimes it turns out it's true.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah, and oh shit, like my instinct was kind of. You got into it on Facebook a while back with someone we know from back in the day, and they made a comment about like Obama violating people's rights with all of his deportations, and you were like, "No, he didn't." And then upon looking it up, you're like, "Oh, he did," and like, yeah, no, you gotta be quick to admit, like, yep, I was wrong there. Obama definitely took some took some
Yeah,
liberties
but
with
the
people's civil
problem with
rights.
admitting you're right with somebody like that is they just jump all over you on that. And they're just like, yeah, you're fucking wrong and blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, yeah, man, I admitted it. Like,
I think you should always admit it. Like if you find that you were wrong on a topic, that's if I'm dealing with someone on a regular basis and they've been totally wrong a couple times and yet have never admitted it, like my impression of that person goes way downhill. Like, whereas, if you just say like, "Oh yeah, I was totally wrong on that," yeah, you sent me that link and I read it, and turns out I was incorrect. Like, cool. I've had that happen a bunch with me, where I've kind of just talked out of my ass and said something, and then later realized, oh, that I was totally wrong on that. It turns out the
yeah,
left is being dumb here, or whatever it is. So
sure.
you got to be able to admit that.
You have to. Yes, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
And right now there was a great SNL skit last weekend. Did you see the SNL skit of the mom that was talking to her three kids and admitting that maybe I was wrong about Trump? And and every time they were like, "Mom, we've been telling you this since 2016," and she kept getting mad, and she's like, I told you to give me grace. I'm trying, and then she would be like, sometimes the things he says, I feel like might not be true. And they were like, Jesus, Mom, we've been telling you this. And it was actually a very funny skit, but like there's some total truth to that. Like
Yeah.
Andrew Schultz, I watch Andrew Schultz's podcast a lot, and he's been being very open with the fact that, like, yeah, I feel like I got conned. Like I fell for what he was selling, and clearly that's not what he's doing. I was wrong. And like, the urge by a lot of people is to now dunk on him and be like, "How stupid were you?" And it's like, if you do that, you're going to force them to retreat back to whatever way they were originally at.
Yeah.
So, like, if someone admits that they were wrong, or if they admit that their side was wrong, like, you just got to be like, "Hey, everybody makes mistakes. Like, glad you're here now, whatever it is." But jumping all over people gets nothing done.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I'm glad that like Andrew Schultz understand that, but it's you just gotta I don't know, how did we see this even before the 2020 election? How did we see what a nightmare he was gonna be for the country? And all these other people like, oh no, he's gonna be so great. This is gonna be fantastic. We're gonna have a businessman in office.
I've never understood it. And from the time he came down the golden escalator to announce he was running for president, in my mind, I was like, he's a con man. Like we all see that he's a con man, right?
Right.
But I have to stop every now and then and think, I'm like, did I plant my flag back then and now I'm refusing to budge? Like, is there a chance that maybe I dug my heels in and I'm refusing to see that he's doing good things? And I have to give it now. After giving it serious looks, I still feel like I'm correct on that. But
You're
I had
100% correct.
that's one of those where I have to stop every now and then and be and like I said, every now and then when he does something good, I feel like a key thing is to say like, yeah, no, Trump did that one thing and it was good. That was a good thing for America that he did. He does every now and then. He's bound to do something good. You should give him credit
Okay.
when he does.
He opened up cancer research for children.
Yeah, experimental cancer research.
But the budget for cancer research for children is still cut
I believe so.
through so he really didn't open anything up because they don't have a budget to do this
Well,
research.
as long as they pay for it on their own, they can go get experimental medication.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so
Oh,
anyhow,
God.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a wild world. So anyhow, that's all I got. You got anything else?
Yeah, did we talk about the Kennedy Center being bankrupt? I feel like we talked about this, but I had
God.
it on my list.
Wait, I didn't see that it's bankrupt. I did see he's demolishing it and he's going to rebuild it.
It used to run at it's running at a deficit now because
Okay.
nobody wants to play there. He's shutting it down. Um,
As soon as he put his
yeah,
name on it, all the acts started canceling, and it looked like they weren't going to be able to fill up the next 2 years. So now they're doing 2 years of renovations. Where, yeah, it sounds like he said they're gonna. They asked him if he was going to totally demolish it. And he was like, "No, no, no, we're going to keep the steel." So he's going to basically tear it down to the steel and then rebuild it.
it was making $40,000 a year. It's a nonprofit, but it was
Yeah,
making $40,000 a year before Trump, and now it's losing money.
sounds
Um,
right.
yep. So there's that. I would say that is his eighth bankruptcy.
Well, that's not his bankruptcy. Now he did bankrupt it, but yeah, I see what you're saying. But yeah,
Um, Also, you watched the National Prayer Breakfast, or you saw parts of
oh
it?
God, yeah.
Yeah, so the National Prayer Breakfast, he said a lot of weird things. He didn't talk a lot about Christianity and
He did say
prayer.
at one point he did say that he said he doesn't understand how you can be a person of faith and vote for Democrats or something along those lines. And when he
Right.
said that, the room didn't cheer that. There was kind of some groans when he said that because it's a room full of Democrats and Republicans. But the way they're trying to basically make religion, like if you're religious, you have to be on the right. Like I'm not a fan of that. I don't like when he talks like that.
No.
Um, but I think that there are I know people in my personal life that fully believe that. They're like, well, I'm a Christian, so I couldn't possibly vote Democrat. And I'm just like,
That's insane. And
I've had people in my personal life tell me that.
that's insane. And honestly, like, I feel like the Democrats are better
If so, here's
at,
the thing. If you took abortion out of the equation, if you just take that and just move it off the plate, and you look at everything else, all the teachings of Jesus Christ, like I told somebody this the other day, but like I feel like my understanding of Christianity does not line up with a right wing Christians' view of Christianity or of Jesus's teachings. Like it's not the same. Like what I think Jesus's teachings are is clearly not what they think Jesus's teachings are. Because like he talked a lot about helping the poor and feeding the poor and those less fortunate than you and all this stuff and helping. I can't remember how it's worded in the Bible, but it's people from other lands that come in, basically refugees.
yeah,
I can't remember the word they use, but like that's kind of a core part of what Jesus was all about.
yeah,
And they all disregard all that, but then they really stick on the abortion thing. Like,
yeah. But
and
is abortion even in the Bible?
no, but they look at
And
it. Go ahead.
and most abortions happen to a mother who is either the baby's already dead or going to die through giving birth, or the mother's going to die, or there's a chance that one of or the other's going to die, and so there has to be like a an intervention, right?
Is that true? Most of them? You're saying the majority
Mm.
of them? I don't think that's true.
Okay, that may not be true,
Yeah,
but that's a big chunk of it, right? And that's why abortion
that
should be legal.
that's a part of it. I don't think that's a big chunk.
Oh, we got to look that up.
Yeah. What percentage of abortions are medically necessary? I almost want to ask Gemini again. She'll give us a good answer.
You should bring Gemini in a lot. Like, uh, data on the precise percentage of abortions that are medically necessary to save is not statistically systematically tracked or officially reported. Huh. There's no ask Gemini. Let's see what Gemini says.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna laugh if she gives us a good answer. All right, let's see here. What percentage of abortions are medically necessary in the United States?
There is no specific percentage commonly cited for medically necessary abortions in the United States, as the term can be interpreted differently and comprehensive data is limited. Just a reminder that I can't provide medical advice and that you should always consult a healthcare professional.
Thanks, Gemini. Please don't kill us.
I
So
found I found something.
okay, what do you got?
Um, the Guttmacher Institute reported that 63% of abortions in 2023 were medication abortions. Oh, that's medication.
Yeah.
Um, This says 1 to 3% of all abortions are performed for medical reasons. Okay.
So that sounds more believable to me. 1 to 3%. The rest of them are people that hopefully within that first, what is it, 20 weeks, 24 weeks? I don't know. I think every state's different, but yeah.
Okay. Well, how many are performed every year per
That's
year? Oh, wow. There's a
a
lot.
lot.
There's a lot of abortions. Holy shit.
You're going to become a right winger here pretty soon.
Holy shit.
Remember Louis C.K. had that special where he was like, either you think that having an abortion is taking a crap, or you think it's murdering a baby. Like it's one or the other. And it's like, man, yeah.
Yeah.
I've always
My
been,
stance on it is there's a certain point in time where it becomes a baby, and then I don't
yeah,
know where that is. We should have science like
there's a lot of people that think it
figure
should
that
be
out.
when consciousness develops. Like when does consciousness form? Because it's not right away. Like there's a heartbeat at 6 weeks, but there's not a conscious
No,
being.
there's not a heartbeat. There's no heart at 6 weeks.
Well, one cell splits into two and folds over each other and starts that.
They start vibrating, but it's not a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
Okay.
Actually, no,
Either way,
because there's no heart to beat at 6 weeks. That's
I
that's a total lie that the right has
okay.
created.
I'm with Bill Clinton on abortions. Okay. Bill Clinton famously said that he thinks that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. And that's where I'm at. Like
Okay.
I don't think that they should be just doing it willy-nilly, but I think if a woman needs one, she should have the right to get one. I also think that if we're going to put together like a panel to discuss this and come up with some rules, it should be a panel full of women. That's my strong take on this. Like, let's let a bunch of women get
Doctors,
together. Yeah.
women doctors.
Yeah.
Put the women doctors in a room and let them decide.
You ever see when like our congressmen, the fucking 60 to 80-year-old congressmen are up there and they're like trying to grill tech people about tech stuff and they
Yeah.
clearly have no clue what they're talking about and it's like couldn't we put together like a panel of smart people to try to impose some rules and instead we've got these people that don't understand how the internet works trying to come up with rules for the internet. Like that's what I don't want to happen for abortion. Like is a bunch of 60 to 80-year-old men. And there is a thing where the right wing politicians, it just seems like there's a big trend where we eventually find out that like, oh, he paid for his mistress to have an abortion, blah blah blah. Like that happens more often than a lot of people would like to admit. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so you guys are just hypocrites. Like when it's you knocking up your staffer, you're totally fine with it. But for the rest of America, you don't think we should be allowed to do it. So
About as often as Trump's spiritual advisors diddled kids.
there was only one of them so far that we know that did
Oh,
that.
I thought it was two.
There was it two. I know of the one that got charged here in Oklahoma. I don't know who the other one would be. Either way. So, but yeah, the prayer breakfast. Back to that.
Oh yeah.
I was watching it this morning, and the first couple things he said, I was like, "Ooh, I got to pull that clip. Ooh, I got to pull that clip." And then he kept going, and I just started getting depressed, and I was like, I'm gonna skip this. I don't want to pull any of these clips.
I only pulled one clip because I thought it was funny. Trump claims that he's this super Christian. He's always like, "Oh, the Bible's my favorite book," but I don't want to pick out a verse that I like the best. He has all these things but he gives himself away.
Yeah,
He pretends to be super Christian and he gives himself away and
the
tells
best
everybody that doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
the best interview ever was the one that he gave, where the one you were kind of talking about, where they were like, he said the Bible was one of his favorite books, and they were like, what's one verse of the Bible that really is true to you or whatever? And he was like, I like them all. And they were like, well, are you a New Testament or an Old Testament guy? And he's like, both equally. And they're like, okay, but you don't have like one passage in the Bible that, and he was like, no, not really. And it's like, he couldn't name one part of the Bible
Yeah.
if he tried. Like he doesn't. And also, I point this out to everybody who tells me how Christian he is. We know for sure that he has stepped foot inside of a church on a Sunday morning twice in the past 11 years. Like since he first came down the escalator, twice he's been in church on a Sunday morning. Both times he wasn't there for the service. He like came in a side door during the service, came out on stage, did basically a campaign speech to churchgoers, and then left. Okay. We have no evidence of him sitting through a mass on a Sunday morning or a church service, whatever you want to call it, in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
He's the
And
most Christian
that's
president.
his MO, right? Um, well, how do you think he feels about praying?
He probably feels like he doesn't need to pray. That's what I think
Exactly.
he would say something like that.
All right, play this video.
Mike Johnson's a very religious person, and he does not hide it. He'll say to me sometimes at lunch, "Sir, may we pray?" I say, "Excuse me? We're having lunch, you know, the Oval. It's okay with me."
He's that the thing that kills me is he tells on himself. He's like, "Why would we pray? We're having lunch." And you'd think that he would at least act the part, but he flaunts that he's not even really pretending to be religious, but they don't care. They think that he is the most Christian president ever, and there's no way we're going to change their mind on that.
No, it's kind of crazy.
He also, and just the thing that they really want most is abortion. They want abortion to be illegal and to not be allowed. And he goes, depending on where he's talking, he'll either say, like, "Oh, I think we should do away with abortion," or he'll say, "Oh, I think we should have a compromise and abortion should be legal till a certain point." And it's one of those deals where it's like, whatever you want to hear him say, you can find video of him saying it.
That's
and
drifting 101.
You just disregard the other videos where he's saying the opposite thing. You don't just act like he didn't see those and focus on the one video where he said it the way you wanted him to say it. It's really weird.
Yeah, grifting 101, baby.
Yep,
All right, I have one more thing.
Okay.
Zoran had a baby.
He did?
Yeah.
No,
What's
Zoran. When he got at his election party or whatever, his wife was on stage and she didn't look pregnant at all.
Oh, did I mess that up? Maybe. Well, I was on Twitter. I saw Zoran had a baby. That's the
Doc,
only thing.
we need to talk about you on the internet believing shit you see.
Hold on. No way.
Did Zoran have a baby? No, Zoran Mamdani does not have any children. Zoran's married to, I can't say her name. Yeah. What?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is why I don't go on X because they lie to me.
You know our buddy that gets his news from TikTok only? You're only a little bit separated from him.
I don't ever go on X.
Okay.
This was the first time I'm on X in weeks, and I found that was the first thing that popped up.
Let's assume he had a baby. What was the rest of your statement there?
Did JD Vance have a baby too?
JD Vance's wife is pregnant. He just announced a few weeks ago that his wife is pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're expecting their third child, I believe.
Okay. Their third child. I thought they were getting divorced. I thought she was dating Erica, or he was dating Erica Kirk.
So no, and I saw today a post on X that said that Erica Kirk is pregnant. But I didn't even look that up because I have a good feeling that that's not true. But I'm gonna look it up now.
I was trying to end on a good note, but
so there is people speculating that she's pregnant. I don't think she's pregnant. Anyhow,
how long ago was Charlie Kirk assassinated?
What was that, in September? When was Charlie Kirk shot? September 10th, 2025. So yeah. If she was pregnant with Charlie's baby, we'd be seeing it already.
That's true.
Like it'd be showing. So if she was pregnant, it would be with some new guy. I don't think she's really pregnant. I did see that today though, and people were like, "Oh, I knew it. She's a slut and this and that." And it's like, like people
it's
are
JD Vance's baby. 7.
What if JD knocked up two of them at the same time? Or Erica and his wife.
Some strong summers.
And the couch. All three of them. That's like a perfect example of not trusting Twitter. I sent you a post a couple weeks ago where JD Vance said something about the mayor of Minnesota, and on Twitter, the mayor of Minnesota responded back to him, and then the last sentence was like, "Go fuck a couch," or something like that. And I sent it to you, and I was like, "Yeah!" And then later that day, I realized that was a fake account. That was not the mayor of Minnesota.
Okay.
So it's too easy to get tricked online.
Damn it. Okay.
Yeah. But had the mayor of Minneapolis really told him to go fuck a couch, I would have thought that's the coolest thing ever, but he didn't really do that. So
dang. Okay. Be cool, Minnesota.
Yeah. So anyhow.
Give it the times.
Anything else?
We're all doomed. Yep. AI. Who's gonna kill us first? AI or the Trump administration?
AI is not gonna kill us. AI is gonna crash our economy. And the only good thing is that people thought it was going to be a bubble that's going to burst, and like the .com bubble or like the Great Recession 2008, the housing market collapse. it's starting to look like it might be more of like a steady decline, which I guess would be a little bit easier to handle than a sudden burst.
Okay.
So maybe that'll be good for us. Either way, it's going downhill, but I mean, maybe it'll be slow and gradual.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
learn how to be AI, Andy.
Yes. I'm going to learn to do something. I need to find a job that AI can't do. Oh my God. Hold on. Sorry. I should have said this all the way back at the beginning. I had this in my notes somewhere. So we were talking about the AI agents that get tasked to go out and do things.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, there's some things they can't do. There's some things you got to do in the physical world. So there's a website called rentahuman.ai where AI agents will hire you to go out. It's like a gig economy thing where you'll go out and complete tasks for the AI agents and they'll pay you.
Okay.
So you can, right now you could get a job working for an AI agent for the day.
Does it pay well?
I don't know. I haven't been to the website yet. It's rentahuman.ai.
So AI is now a boss, somebody's boss.
Yes. It's outsourcing its work. The human gives the AI a list of things to do. Some of the things the AI can't do because it's not in the physical world, so it outsources that to a human to get done.
Until the robots take over.
Yes.
The AI robots.
Yeah. So
Oh my God.
everything's gonna be fine. Yep. So, all right. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Later, dude.
Later.
Sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eats you.